Hey, I'm your host, Scott Dr. Jigs Goldfine, welcoming you to another episode of Where'd You Get Your Funk From? For this episode, I'm delighted to welcome Jara Harris, multi-instrumentalist, founder of killer Los Angeles-based funk band Slapbak. First appearing on Randy Jackson's 1989 album Randy and the Gypsys, he founded Slapbak in 1990, and 2 years later delivered the debut album Food Funkateers, which included guests Larry Blackmon of Cameo, Clinton and Bootsy Collins. Since then, the band has performed relentlessly and released more than 10 albums. Speaking of which, as of this taping, Slapbak's latest project, Funk Lives Matter, was imminent and includes the booty-quaking single, Hey Now. Now we're
Hey,
ready for you, Jared, man. How are you?
I appreciate all that. That was great. I totally forgot everything you just said, and so you just reminded me. I'm like,
Someone's got to keep tabs on this.
been a long journey, man.
Yeah. And it's been
Still trucking, still trucking. Thank God.
absolutely. I checked and it's been almost 6 years since we last did this. And at that
Wow.
time, you were just coming out of the fire situation.
Right,
But since then, man, the health thing, the pandemic, just.
dude. That's so weird. It's funny. I thought that you and I talked after I had cancer because I knew it was something crazy, but it was the fire. That's right. We haven't spoken since I went through the
Yeah.
whole cancer thing. That
Yeah.
was. I thought. I thought the fire was something.
No
The
doubt.
cancer thing. That was something else, man.
Yeah. So first and foremost, man, thank God, that you're recovered and you're here with us still and you're doing your thing. And, you know, usually for this show, the first question I ask is the title of the show. But for you, I first want to ask the most important thing, is how are you feeling and how are you doing?
Well, I appreciate the question. I feel great. Uh, I'm. I feel very blessed, man, too, because my situation was uh, it was a rare one, and the my doctor, oncologist, everybody said they hadn't seen that much cancer in a long time. So it was just by the grace of God that I was able to beat it. But it was a very abnormal situation. I didn't know that. My wife didn't tell me. I didn't know I was really in danger out, like I was when I was going through it. But I found out afterwards. I'm like, really? Wow. Yeah. So it was heavy. The recovery was pretty. I was fortunate that I didn't get any of the side effects that affect like touching my fingers or losing hearing or anything like that, because all that stuff can happen from the type of treatment that I had. But I did have like a lot of uh, um, I think I had every side effect you could possibly get
Mhm.
recovering. So that 2022 and 2023 were pretty heavy. They got better. Like I find myself getting uh feeling strong again about midway through 2023. But no, the voice was the last thing to come. So, it I like forever sound like Sly Stone now, which is great.
Mhm.
I tried for years to get that scratchy voice, and I just have it. But yeah, that's that's really been the journey, man. And just and people have been so wonderful, keeping my spirits up, and everybody from family to friends to fans have just been incredible. Very very humbling, going through that and seeing how people can be. But now it's
Uh,
the band's been on fire. Everything's on fire right now. It's a
well, just,
that's really
so
really good.
others to help others though, Jara,
Yes.
how did you find out about it and what can you tell people to, get screened and make sure they stay on top of it?
You know, I I had a lump on my neck, and I went to the doctor. It was like April of 2021, and the doctor thought it was just like a swollen uh, lymph node, uh, lymph node. And I went back, check it out again, like a couple months later. kind of same thing. They checked on it. It's the same size. But long story short, it wasn't until I changed doctors, and he said, "No, we need to poke it and do a biopsy and see what's going on." And that didn't happen till like 7 months later. So I found out at the end of 2021 that it was in fact cancer. Didn't know what stage it was, and then when I found out what stage it was stage 4 already, and I was in serious danger. If it would have spread from that point on, it would have been over for me. So I was very fortunate that they caught it when they did, and there was a club owner friend of mine that suggested the oncologist who's like on the top in the country, Scott Littman, Dr. Scott Littman, and he goes, "I know you, Joe. You're a nice guy. You already have your oncologist. I know you won't change, but just do me a favor and just talk to this guy." And I talked to him, and he convinced me that, I should go with him. And this guy was at my beck and call, did a whole thing. I could text him 5 a.m. He would call me right back. Like, I can't say enough good things about the guy I had, Scott Littman. And, my wife being there through everything. See, I was pretty much emotionally brain dead. Like, it was just kind of like I was going through the motions, like, oh, I have to be here. I have to be here. But I still can't tell you the actual name of the cancer that I had, because I just wasn't paying attention like that. I was just getting through it. So, I mean, for people that have to go through it and not have help, my heart really goes out to them, because I don't know how I could have done it if I was by myself, But I think for me, the best thing that kept me focused was to want to be back, like that. That feeling of wanting to get back and doing what I do with Slapbak, and wanting to do like things like crafty things, like everything that you want to do, you think about it. You think about it because you can't do anything else. You're not mentally busy in the hustle and bustle. You're like just a sitting vessel going through all this stuff. I can't do anything. Everything I like was stripped from me. So, you're excited about getting back to eat food. I had a feeding tube, and I couldn't eat. I couldn't talk for like 4 months. Like, it was crazy, man. So when I talk to people going through it, I just try to tell them, I go, you have to really don't give up. You can't let your spirit take over. And I'm a very positive guy. You remember when the fire happened? I was kind of like, I've lost everything. You know what I mean? Because I'm like that. But the cancer thing really, there was times where I felt like, what am I living for? Just to wake up every day and feel like this. It's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So if I ever get the chance to talk to people, I just try to let them know, like, it seems like it's the end of the world, but just keep focused on getting to that other side, because things do change. And I've had a couple people that didn't make it, that was going through the same thing. And it was so heartbreaking, because you think, how was I able to make it? We're not promised anything in this life, So it kind of changes your perspective too on what you think is so important in life. And you realize it's not that important. There's things that I see as being important now that I didn't really think about that was that important before. So I tell people in the weirdest way, this experience was a blessing for me, because anytime you go through trials, it makes you look at life different. And I think that's a good thing, I've been doing
they say don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff aside from that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is. And it's almost to the point to where the big dream of music and everything. It's like, I remember having a point thinking, like, I might not be able to come back and do music anymore. And was I able to be okay with that? And part of me ended up being okay with, I didn't get to where I was trying to get, but I did some stuff and it was pretty cool. And I was kind of okay with it. Because at that point, you just want to feel better. Like, but then you feel better. You're like, oh my gosh, I just want my voice back. How we are as humans. But I like to remind myself what I didn't have so I don't get lost in the appreciation of what I have, just being here, being able to talk right now, and being able to hang out with my family and do simple things. And I'm blessed, man. I can't complain. I can't complain.
Well, I mean, all of our hearts dropped so much when we found out, and we were all just praying for you and in your corner, man. And we're so glad, so glad.
I can't tell you how much I felt that and how much I appreciate it. Because I really do believe that plays such a big part on my journey, man. It's like, even people just a couple words they'd say, they don't realize that those couple of words of what they said to me or a post or anything just did something for me big time. And I think that's why my approach to doing this record was about, I want to do something I feel like that people want. It wasn't so much about me. I'm all over the place. I'm like funk, rock, jazz, whatever. But I'm like, I feel like people have a need for a funk record right now. So I'm like, I'm going to do a funk. It is a funk record from top to bottom, left to right, black to white. It is funk. So it's very exciting. And it's very band oriented too.
Oh.
Which is always the case with the Slapbak records in the past. We have a band that started in 1990. There's going to be, personnel changes. And so as long as was there, I'm able to make a record, record the instruments, whatever. But the last record we had that was very band oriented like this was probably the second record, Blue Light Special, which never came out. But yeah, the band really did their thing on this record. So I'm proud of those guys.
Well, we can't wait to hear it. It'll be a few weeks before this posts. When do you anticipate the full package coming out?
I think the full package is coming out. It's so funny because the record is done. We will have vinyl in a couple months. We'll have vinyl by the end of November. But as far as the actual release, since we got with Randy Jackson, there's been a different plan of, it's not just being released on our time, like when where we're just straight independent, and I'm just like, here's a record, here's a song. There's like structure behind it, so I can't really. There's things being negotiated right now, so I can't really say when it's gonna formally come out. But I'm also working with Lester Troutman Jr. now, and that's more recent. So there's a lot of good things happening right now.
I was trying to navigate to the website as we're talking because there's 3 singles that have come out so far, and
Right.
Going all the way back to late last year, right?
Yeah, but so basically what those singles before, like Bad Lovin' we did, I think a year ago, like that's not on the record. We were doing something totally different back then, maybe just doing singles. And then we took 3 songs or 4 songs that we had done before, but we had been playing them for some years. So we recorded them. I produced them differently, added some stuff to them. And then there's like 5 new songs. And we're doing like a straight traditional 8-song album that's like 4 songs on each side, like old school. And it's really cool, man. It's real cool.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
The one that came out in August is especially funky.
Oh, thank you, man. I
Yeah.
feel like that one is the most commercial sounding funk one out. I mean, it gets dirty. When you hear the record, it gets dirty. It's like the nice ones. But I like it. Even still I like it. But it's yeah. It got kind of commercial for a minute when we first started working with Randy. Randy was trying to figure out, because there's so many different layers of Slapbak. There's me, who's the oldest guy in the band now, and then the youngest is like Gus, who's 23, and everything in between. But half the band members are like, three of them are like in their 20s, two of them are in their 30s. So then there's TJ Quake and I. We're in our 50s. So the energy of it, Randy's trying to figure out, because he's like, Slapbak is known in like the funk world, but on the commercials, since we never had any commercial success. So he was trying to figure out how to have it be not too funky, but funky, and rock, but not too rock. And we went through that little process for about 6 months. And then finally I said, okay, so we're just going to do a funk record. And I'm going to lean into the fact that it is funk for this record. And I go, if it doesn't work the way Randy kind of wants it to go, we'll try something different for the next record, maybe under a different name. But I go, Slapbak has the brand of being funk based. So we're going to lean into that, just for the people that have always been true to following us. I feel like yes,
this guy.
Right. Absolutely, people like you. And so I'm like, we're gonna do a record that's for those guys. And that's basically what this record is for. And we went to Dayton in August, and the love there was so amazing. And I feel like there's so many places that we haven't gone where our actual audiences that really appreciate it on the funk side. So that's why it's been kind of a great thing that we connected with the Zap camp, and we'll be doing some stuff together. So
That's fantastic, man. Because you guys have been, just kind of in your LA bubble so much.
yes. Oh my gosh. LA Orange County bubble. Big time bubble.
Which is, cool, because I'm from there too. But, at some point,
Yeah, right.
you got to spread it out. Yeah.
I mean, it's not even where our true audience is, to be honest. When we've gone to overseas and everything, you realize like our fans are not necessarily where we live, but for us, it was always easy for us to book gigs out here and just keep rehearsing and keep that stage experience happening with the band. So it is nice that we have certain places like Skyloft and Laguna is kind of like our hub, and we can always play there and work out new things that we're working on. And the crowd we have a really good crowd there. So it's, we're starting to get around now, man, which is good. As far as the live is concerned.
I love that those are streamed, I mean, I dig those shows.
Yes. What's crazy is that live stream that actually created this whole new energy and resurgence with Slapbak. And that's how Randy ended up reconnecting with us. Because this video that we did at Skyloft a year ago, I was setting took steam and went viral. And it's a 2.5 hour show. It's not the kind of video that goes viral. And everybody started seeing that thing. And there's like this whole new energy on Slapbak. And I had Paisley Park Studio contact me. Like, everyone was contacting me from this video. I'm like, I had a sub on drums that night. We were just getting through the night, that performance. And people were really, something sparked from it. So I'm like, thank you, you two, for finally throwing us a bone.
Where is Skyloft located? Because I've never been there.
Laguna Beach.
Okay.
So Laguna Beach is right in the heart of like where downtown is, where all the action is. And the same owner owns Mozambique, which is like a mile down the street. But Skyloft is just in that spot where it's just a lot of energy there, you know. So it's a good place. It's a good place for us.
Yeah, there are a lot worse areas you could be hanging out.
Yeah, right.
Well, I
So
love some of
true.
the you get, the eclectic, in my mind, picks of some of the set list choices, and the covers, and
Yeah.
you more than do justice to a lot of those covers for sure.
Thank you, man. Thank you. That's funny. That was the first thing that Randy suggested when we first met. He's like, I really love the way you guys flip those covers. We should maybe do a cover CD of like all the slapback versions of them. Which actually that was a great idea. You know, it's funny. When I was younger, it was all about my songs. You know, the band songs, our collaborations, and then I got into the brand, more of the brand of slapback, and I'm like, I got to the point where people having a good time. I get more satisfaction out of that than just like, you know, you have to like this new song of mine. You know what I mean? Like we're still about doing our music, but it doesn't hurt my soul like it used to when I was younger, like doing the cover. Maybe because we get to do it the way we do it. So it doesn't feel like, I mean, I would never do Brick House the way Brick House is. Not saying it's a bad song, but I've just been hearing it for years. And so we match it up with Led Zeppelin. You know, it's just, it makes it fun. And I really started doing that because I was bored, but people love it. So, you know, we do James Brown and Rage Against the Machine, all kinds of weird things, you know.
Yeah, you
It
do your
worked.
own mashups. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, why not?
yeah.
I'm
Well,
a,
you don't just cover them; you inhabit them. It's like a difference.
right. True. True. And like the Rick James remake I did, that was like, I don't even know if I should say this on the show, but Rick James, I love Rick James. And it's like I love war. And Verdine White wanted me to do that remake of Lowrider. And I'm like, shoot me in the head. I'm like, Lowrider? I'm like, that's not my jam. You know what I mean? Like, but there's plenty other war songs I would do. You know, I love war, like Slipping in the Darkness, World is the Ghetto, like, you know, Cisco Kid even. I'm like, Lowrider? That's just not my thing. And that was the same thing with Super Freak. I love Rick James, but Super Freak was like, it was very happy. It wasn't my thing. And I was in the store one day and I heard that song and my ears just attached to the melody. I go, God, that melody is actually pretty. So I did like a pretty version of it, funky, but it's kind of pretty. So that's how my mind works, you know. I just have fun with it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And even I was just thinking as we're talking and remembering years ago, you had that DVD that was awesome that you guys put out, and you had some covers on that. And you did amazing versions, I think, of like Disco to Go and Atomic Dog and stuff
Oh
like that.
yeah. Yes, that was from Belgium. We were in Belgium.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, so it's actually what's kept us working like out here because out where we live, like I said, it's not really our biggest fan base. So we would get away like doing gigs and being able to make decent money just because we had a mix of like the cover stuff. And at some point, we actually kind of got pretty too much in the cover stuff at one point. Is like, you know, I had a lazy band at one point. But COVID,
Slippery slope.
did we talk after COVID? Before COVID?
We were before.
Before COVID. So COVID is actually what put Slapback on the path that is at right now. That was my opportunity to kind of scrap everything and start from scratch. And that's when I brought in my daughter Jazz and Gus. And the three of us, because Gus was Jazz's boyfriend. Well, she just got engaged a couple weeks ago. But Jazz and Gus would come and stay at the house because of COVID, and the three of us started writing and just jamming together, just the three of us. And that kind of started like a new core of Slapbak. And then, TJ had been doing it for years. And I think TJ just needed a break. So TJ wasn't doing it. Jesse, my drummer, saw what we were doing. And then he ended up hitting me up and saying, hey, man, I like what you guys are doing. I'd like to be involved. So Jesse, I always liked Jesse. Jesse always had a good attitude. I felt like Jesse was part of the band that was kind of jaded and this and that. I always felt bad for Jesse because Jesse's spirit was always what I liked. So when Jazz and Gus came in and we kind of changed the energy and got rid of the old band, Jesse came back on board and we had a really good vibe together, the four of us. Then my wife came back in because she really stepped up because she got, she had Jack. She was in mom mode. So since we were there at the house just doing COVID videos, she would come out and get on the keyboards again. And that's how she kind of fell back into it. And before you know it, she's back in the band. So we had a good solid 5, for a year. Slapbak was a 5-piece. And it was just me singing. Nobody else was singing. And that was like hard on me. And I was trying to find the right female singer. And we had the hardest time, which Alicia was doing it, but then she moved to Sacramento, and it was just too hard for her to commute and come back and do it. So that's how, because Alicia was great too. Everybody was great. Adam was great on guitar. It just different approach mentally with that band, and people weren't really striving to do anything else, I felt. But
excuse me, Jara, I just want to say that I remember early in the pandemic, you're refreshing my memory, how you guys were very visible. And, that's why, started to kind of feel closer to you as a community, I think, through that. And then,
right.
So then when your illness came, it hit that much harder because we had gotten this bond,
right.
and that Duty to Funk came out. And,
right.
That was really cool. And
have that.
It was called Part 1.
Yes, and that's funny because it was Part 1 because there was going to be another, and we never really released that. I just had it available on the website, but we never put it out. It's not on Spotify or nothing like that. We never put that record out because again, we kind of shift gears as far as what we were going to do. So that record kind of just fell in the cracks. But there's a couple of songs from that record. Hollywood's Not, Can't Trust Your Honesty, and Don't Block the Bus, that we re-recorded it for this record, and these versions are kick ass, That's really cool. But there's songs off of that record that I do like. I was a big fan of it's a weird one. What's the name of it? Dreamland, Sour Dreamland.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird one, but I like that one. It's kind of out there. But that was written about the pandemic and being stuck at home and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
But so with that new band, when I finally found Mary Liz, singer, she was great singer, and she's a great solo artist, and she's really like a singer-songwriter, but she adapted pretty damn good, But when we got last year, when we got with Randy, we realized we're going to target something a little different. I think she wasn't ready to really go full band. She was like, and I think it was right for her because she wasn't finished with her solo, pursuing her solo thing. So it was all such a positive thing. We were all behind her. She was behind the band, and we made the change, and I got Deja Kane, and she just fit like a glove. The band right now is so together and tight. The unit is just really unstoppable right now. But it took a while since COVID. We've been trying to build it since COVID, and it didn't really come together until, you know, June of this year. So, she joined the band like in May, but it's amazing. It's amazing how just having all the right pieces makes it really, really
Chemistry,
strong.
man. Chemistry is everything.
Chemistry. So yeah, it's really cool. We just did another video uh, from a song off of that new record, and I'm sending it to you. It's not out yet, but I'll send it to you so you can check it out. You know,
Appreciate it. Yeah. Can't wait.
it's unlisted.
Well, that's some of the joys. If you follow Slapbak closely through the years, I mean, there's a lot of sort of unofficial releases and things,
Right.
and
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
yeah, yeah.
I think after Underground Mayhem, I thought everything changed so much with the industry. I'm like, why make another record? Let's just do singles. Seemed like that's all people wanted, But everything always shifts. Now vinyl became kind of a big thing again. People start wanting to buy albums again. So I'm like, it might be a good time to do a record. So that's why, got the whole Funk Lives Matter happening there.
Yeah. Now, was it somebody wore that to one of your shows and you thought it was cool and you adopted it? Because I thought I saw like a video where someone in your crowd had it.
Yeah, the DJ's wearing it in a Hey Now video. But yeah, that was our shirt. I had it back then. I kind of had the concept before I had the record finished, but I knew that it had to match that title. That also kind of put the pressure on me to make sure it's a really funky record. I'm like, this record's called Funk Lives Matter. It's got to be like, you know what I mean? So we kept each other on that tip of like, it's got to be funk. It's got to be funk.
Yeah. Well, I have a little more confidence in you coming through with it than, like Lenny Kravitz was promising a pure funk record for like decades, I think.
Really?
And he has like, of course, funk here and there.
Yeah,
he's never,
touches on it.
But he's never done a full-fledged hardcore funk record like he's.
No, you know what? And he could too. Lenny should do that because he could do that. He could pull that off. And the way he would do it, he'd probably go through all the vintage mic pre's and everything and give it that sound. Like, it'd be cool if Lenny did that, But in the meantime, we have Slapbak Funk Lives Matter.
Hopefully the time will work out then with when it comes out and this posts, I hope so.
Yeah. It'll be close, very close.
So aside from your voice, Jara, what else was like hard to kind of get back? I mean, how hard was it to get your stamina back? I'm sure was a challenge.
Oh, yeah.
And also, just, doing what you want to do on the bass.
Yeah, the stamina thing was, my mind was ready before my body was. I think I finished my last treatment mid-March of 2022, and we had our first full-fledged Slapbak show in July of 2022. And I was on the climb. I thought I was like kind of out of the woods, and the first show was amazing. My voice wasn't all the way there, but it was like 80%. And then around August, September, I had a setback with some infection, and it looks like I had a tire around my neck. It was all like pussy in here, and I was in a hospital for like 7 days, which was the first time I've been in a hospital where I had to stay overnight. I didn't have to do that when I was going through the cancer treatment, so I was like in a hospital for like 7 days, and then it was building back up from that. So from that point, I realized there was I wasn't out of the woods like I thought, but I was still doing Slapbak shows here and there. And people were so sweet, man. Like, the band stepped up because they knew that I was always like the guy in the band that can pull everything and make it work. If everybody else slacked, I carry the weight. And I told the band, I'm like, you guys gonna have to this band's gonna have to carry the weight. And they stepped up to the plate, man. And so the drummer was doing songs where he was singing and playing drums and rapping. So now Jesse sings a lot of backups. But we had some shows, you know, end of 2022, 2023, where I just had zero voice. And then people would just give so much because they saw I was up there trying to give everything that I could. You know, I tried to get it out. But the band was so tight and so good that even with my voice being gone, you left feeling like, damn, that was a good show. You know what I mean? It was still really knocking people over. And we had a good visual. But yeah, the voice thing it took a while. It really did. And even now, like my diction isn't what it used to be. Like certain things I say I can't pronounce so well. Like I'm still working on. I'm going to, you know, seeing a ENT, you know, helping me with my voice and speaking and all that stuff. Like certain words, just my tongue is all twisted up and everything. It's like it's funny, but it's still a work in progress, you know. But I feel like people have been so into the journey that they kind of would like if they experienced a show where I had a voice, or experienced a show where I didn't have a voice because they knew my journey. So either way, like the energy of the room was always insane. People cheering and just like, it's amazing, man. If I could take that as fuel to push forward, I don't know what I could get for. I mean, that was like the best thing I could get, you know. And I just want to do the best I can for people. Be perfectly honest.
Well, you know, when we talked last, it was my Truth and Rhythm show, and now I've started this, you know, Where'd You Get Your Funk From show. So it's a little bit different, but still, of course, supporting the artists and the funk. But the first question I always ask most times is the title, Where'd You Get Your Funk From? And with you and what's happened, we talked about, you know, how much energy you got from your family, of course, and from your fans and your support. But tell us how you energized from funk and the music itself.
From the music itself?
Yeah, music itself. What did that do for your spirit?
Oh my gosh. Man, it's crazy because I'm one of those guys because I play music, I play music on my music isn't what I go to for joy. My thing is movies. Like I'm a big movie buff. And I don't know if you know, I got into doing short films and everything. Like I'm so, in fact, there's a real deep fascination for film. But coming out of my cancer treatments, you'd be surprised. It was the music that brought my spirits up. And I remember getting excited by music and thinking, I can't believe I'm just sitting here listening to music. And I would listen to, you're gonna laugh. Like one of the main songs I listened to that would get my spirits up when I was coming out of my treatments was Phil Collins. No, Genesis. Turn it on again. That I forget the name of that song. Like I would play that song over and over and over. I'd listen to Yes, just random stuff. Then I would listen to like Baby, let me be your bodyguard. I listened to people. I was all over the place, just like music, 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 and it would just lift my spirits up, man. And if it was, I wanted to listen to music that made me just want to move because I was trying to come out of that slum of just like head always down and just music would just perk me up, man. But it was a really random playlist. Like it's kind of funny the stuff I was listening to. The Police, Missing Persons, Sadiq. Yeah, I mean, just like crazy.
Yeah. Well, you progressive rock, early 80s rock.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Some P-Funk.
Rage. Rage. I listened to Linkin Park. I was all over the place. But it was all stuff that made me do this, you know. So, you know, that's why I'm able to do the mashups because I hear rock kind of the same way I hear funk. If it's got a beat. You know what I mean? I don't really get really heavy into the really progressive rock because that's like jazz to me. Like, it's cool to listen to for a second, but I want to feel a groove,
Yeah.
Yeah, listening to Def Leppard, I was all over the place.
Since we last spoke, Jara, I've caught some of your videos on YouTube, like playing with other artists, and you talk
Mm.
about, some of the, rock type things, and just
Yeah.
seeing you, play with like Stevie Salas and
Oh
that,
yeah.
kind of
Mhm.
stuff. I mean, it was really fun to see you in that environment, that role where you're not the front
Oh yeah.
person, but
Right.
you are killing it, man. You're like giving so
Yeah.
much funk to some of the rock
Right.
tracks.
It's funny. I love that. I love situations where I can just back up somebody and rock out. It's a lot of responsibility up there singing and trying to cue and look back and sing and play. And, we have a new song. Like I've done some pretty crazy bass lines of Slapbak and singing live, like Never Fake the Funk. I play bass and sing. So Funky How You Suck My Thumb is another crazy bass line, but syncopated, different rhythms. But we have a song on the new record that just moves, the bass moves around a lot. And the bass line was written by Jesse, my drummer. And it's just like all up and down the neck. But it's not crazy syncopated. It's really melodic. And for some reason, that song has got me stumped. I go, Gus, you're gonna play bass on this song, and Jazz, you can handle the guitar by yourself. So Jazz and Gus doing the bass and guitar on it, and I'm just fronting it, And it's not many times I just set the bass down in front. So it's kind of cool to have a song like that. But yeah, I really stumped on this one. I'm like, do it if I really want to spend time, working on that hard on it. But geez, this song is kicking my ass. Here you go, Gus. And Gus can play bass too. I mean, Jesse can play bass too. There's some bad boys in Slapback right now that just very multi-talented, And Jazz, same thing. She's jumping around too, from guitar to bass to drums. Gus is a good drummer too. It's crazy.
What about the recordings? So the studio recordings, how much is that a band effort versus, you jumping on the different instruments?
That's what I was saying earlier. This record has been almost like some stuff was recorded almost like the Funk Brothers. Like we're in one room, drums mic'd up. I'm on the bass going direct. The guitars are mic'd up with the guitar amp on the other side, but it's the size of a garage. It's like a 16 by 16. So there's some bleed going on. It really gave it like an old school vibe. That's why this record has such layers of like textures, because it's done like how they did in old school. It's an old school approach. Then we do overdubs and stuff, but most of this record is done built off of us in a room together playing and recording. And you messed up, so we gotta do the whole thing. All of us gotta do the whole thing over again. Like it was fun. Really cool. We did vocals, backup vocals on one mic. All of us singing on, a lot of stuff for group vocals. It's that type of record. So it's cool. Even my wife, who she played on like 80% of the keyboard, she did it. And normally she'd just be like, you just do the keyboards, She learned this stuff. She's not like a musician like me or Gus or Jesse or Jazz has become, but she could play anything I show her. But a lot of these songs we've been playing live already, so she was already rehearsed on it. She'd come in the studio and record it, playing, kind of looking around, not moving her head and knocking it out. I'm like, you're so weird. I'm like, get out of here. I record. I'm like, she's just like, gets it done. And it's funky. She doesn't even know it. It's pretty funny.
Well, I love hearing that you recorded it that way. That makes me even more eager to check it out.
Yes, and we did. We have a lot of video footage of the process because we knew afterwards we were going to make like a little kind of documentary of how we did it. to show how we did it, and that's going to be cool too.
I love when bands do that.
Yeah.
Have you caught any
Yeah.
of the ones that Slash did for his record this year?
Slash?
Yeah,
Now, what do you do?
he did videos like that of making,
He
because you know
did.
he did that all blues album this year with a special guest on every track, like
I did. Oh, yeah.
superstar in every track, and
Slash
it's
blues
killer.
record?
It's killer.
Slash did a blues record. I'll have to
Yeah,
check that.
I think it's going to win the Grammy actually.
I didn't know that he did a. I think that's very cool.
And so he did making of videos too for like each one. So you
Right.
know, um, Demi Lovato singing, Papa's a Rolling Stone, and
What?
yeah,
Like people like that?
Brian Johnson singing like some old blues song, and
Oh, Oh, okay. I'm glad you told me. I didn't
yeah,
know anything about this. I don't know how this scooted past me. I'm so out of touch.
check that one out.
I'm
And
definitely going to do that.
how's the feedback been on the singles that you've gotten out so far?
Great, man. People are. I think we're actually on track with what we're doing with this record. I think so. And it's the thing that's so cool about the packaging of Slapbak is that although it's funk, our audience is very mixed. And I know it's that way for like George and Bootsy too. Like I was talking to Lester, he was telling me how much a percentage of Bootsy's audience is white now. And same thing with George. And a lot of times, because of the way the cycle goes, I mean, the Latinos kept funk alive when I feel like a lot of, black people kind of were on to hip hop.
The Lowriders, yeah.
Yeah, the Latinos kept that funk alive, so it's kind of cool that Slapback has that appeal with like the skaters, the hip hop guys like it, the funk guys like it, the young people like it, the older people like it. And it's organic. That's not what we aim to do. It's just kind of how it works out for what we do. So yeah, the response has been great.
Well, I think it shows that good taste crosses races.
And speaking of, that's a great saying. And speaking of Stevie Salas, he kind of changed my whole approach to making records after I worked with him. Because Stevie Salas is like, I remember telling him, like, man, that's a great radio song. He's like, you looked at me crazy, like, radio? Don't worry about radio. Let's make good records. I just want to make good records. And I'm like, girl, like, point. And after that, I stopped worrying about trying to fit on radio and all that kind of stuff. And it was just about being creative and trying to make a good record. And so when I got with Randy, who's a very, he lives in the commercial world. He used to manage Mariah Carey. Yeah. Randy was kind of looking for that hit song. And I'm like, man, Randy, I haven't even had the mindset for years of even being concerned about trying to write like that or thinking about that. I'm not Zappa. I don't try to write stuff that's out. But, I kind of just do my thing and let it do what it's going to do. But so Hey Now came as kind of a product of getting with Randy and Randy kind of putting us on track as far as like thinking about like a good kind of commercial song. And you got Hey Now. It's what he got. Which is still funky, but it's pretty commercial.
You know what, Jara, think about in the 70s, how many of those funk songs were pop hits and crossed over.
Oh my God.
I mean, you can have a hook and still be a kick-ass funk jam.
Right. Absolutely. Very good point. Very good point. And I'm always about, I love hooks, but Randy loves P-Funk, but he just thought that was kind of a dangerous area for us to be caught up in just being like funk. And I'm like, that's where him and Lester kind of butt heads, Lester Trotman. And I have so much respect for the godfathers of funk and the disciples of funk before me that I just can't see it that way. I see what we do as a as a compliment and a lift up to the guys before us, because I'm always talking about Morris Day and the Time, Cameo, Ohio Players, Slave, I mean, all those guys is what drove me to put those elements in there. I have a different mix, but I put the elements in there. So that's what Randy got. I do like hooks. There's definitely hooks on this record.
How much hope do you hold for, the future of funk with young people?
I feel like as long as people keep dipping into funk just a little bit, it keeps the whole ocean of funk open. Because people, once they get a little taste, they kind of search out the rest. And there's so much in that ocean of funk over the past 50 years, whatever it is, plus. I don't think funk will ever go away. I really don't. I think funk is the base of the feeling that people want to feel when they want to move. So how is that going to disappear? I just don't see it disappearing.
I think YouTube also helps a lot with that, because you see so many videos, if you look for them, of young people learning classic funk tracks.
Right. Oh my gosh, YouTube. I can't say enough about how much YouTube has helped expose things. I mean, I missed funk because I was the age where I missed funk. I was the era of Bobby Brown, New Edition guy, but because of YouTube, I'm able to watch all these old funk concerts that I was 7 years old back then, but I can watch it now, and it's so cool, man. I love that. I go down a rabbit hole sometimes watching concerts from like the 70s and stuff. I got hip to Mother's Finest. I knew what Mother's Finest was. And I knew their hit song that they had.
Love Changes?
Yeah, Love Changes. So, but that's all I knew of. That's all I knew of Mother's Finest. And we did a gig with them one time in the 80s, and I wasn't a fan. I wasn't really into the funk rock thing that way, the way they did it back then. But I found a concert of them back in 1978. I'm like, holy crap, these dudes and Joyce, they were not playing. I mean, and it kind of reminded me of like Slapbak today, because they were crossing all those lines. And I feel like that's how we're like funk, but we're rocking. And now I'm like a fan of Mother's Finest, but I wasn't for years.
Are you talking about like that black and white footage from like the Montreux Festival in the 70s? Because that is unbelievable.
Yeah, there's that one. There's also a color one that's in color around that same time. But yeah, I mean, what that guitar player was doing, but I did not know Mother's Finest was like that.
Well, and their bass player too, Wizard. He was funking up, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm telling you, that band, that was like a newfound, like I found gold when I discovered those guys in the way that I did this year.
And she's underappreciated for sure.
This year, I just discovered that.
Wow. Joyce Kennedy's underappreciated for sure. She could blow.
Oh my gosh. Even now, I revisited Love Changes, and that song is just so, that song gets me still right to this day. More so now than when I was a kid, because I hear it differently now. Differently now, but her voice is flawless.
And she's still doing it.
Right. It gives me hope. Still got a ways to go to come out this Finest, right?
Hey, Jara, how'd you connect with Frankenreiter?
With Donovan?
Yeah.
Donovan used to be a fan of Slapbak back in the day. Donovan, when he was coming up, when Donovan was a pro surfer first. I don't know if you know that, but he got his name as a pro surfer, and he's in a Sway video back in 1995. So Donovan and I go way back. And I remember when he first started getting into playing guitar, I used to kind of joke with him. I'm like, oh, you're just going to be a musician now, And then I remember when he got signed, and I ran into him out Fuji Rock with Stevie Salas like 2006, and Donovan was killing it. I'm like, that's crazy. And I reconnected with him because Jordan, when I was doing Jordan Sparks, the drummer, Mike Bedard, was playing with Donovan after Jordan. Like, this is back in 2016. And Mike called me and said, "Hey, man, we're playing the Coach House. That's in my neighborhood." He goes, "You should come down. I'm playing with Donovan." I go, "Oh, cool. I haven't seen Donovan in years. I'll come down." He put me on and says, got me backstage passes and everything. And I went to that show, and I'm like, "Hey, Donovan is a real cat now. Like, he could really play." And then I'm like, "But who's the tall guy next to him?" Like, Matt Grundy on bass, guitar, harmonica. I'm like, that dude, Mike Bedard, that trio, I was just like amazed. And it wasn't even really my cup of tea. I would never pay money to go see something like that, but I was really taken by that show. And a few months later, they needed a drummer because Mike Bedard decided he was going to start teaching or doing something, got married, and they hit me up about playing drums. And I'm like, yeah, I sub on some gigs, and I was subbing for him at the time. And we just had an instant connection. The three of us had a really special thing, kind of like Band of Gypsies, And then I became like a full member, right? 2021, I did the first tour with them where I would always do spot dates, but we did like a month tour out on the East Coast. And then I had cancer, then I didn't even know it. And then it was right after that tour that shortly after I found out I had cancer. Mm. So those guys really, really battled for me too. They always kept that position open for me because they could have very easily gotten any drummer during that time. I mean, Donovan, there's a lot of musicians that want to play with Donovan, but they always kept that spot open for me. They did things with the GoFundMe when they were on tour without me, and got a lot of people to rally behind it. Like, those guys really were in my corner, So those guys are like brothers to me.
I didn't know that backstory because I was familiar with his guitar playing, for a while. And I didn't know you guys. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's still, and we did a new record, the three of us, and there's some funky stuff on there too. And we haven't decided what we're gonna do with some of those songs, but he just put out a new record. So there's a couple of songs we did on there. That's the record is really cool. Even the stuff we're not on, I like it. It's a great record. Good songs, really good songs.
How would you categorize his record?
I categorize Donovan as like surf rock, blues, but soul. It's definitely got some soul in there. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why I was able to get with it because I feel where he's coming from. Mm-hmm. And him and Matt are just a hell of a team. Writing and in the studio and everything. So it's been great working with those guys.
Are you still in touch at all with some of those forefathers of funk that, helped you on your fast food Funkateers, Larry Blackmon or George or Bootsy?
I haven't been in contact with Bootsy. Last time I saw Bootsy was maybe 2014 at the NAMM show. We ran into each other and hung out for a while. I still talk to Verdine. He always checks in with me, see how I'm doing. Marlon McLean, for sure. We still, keep in touch. Tommy Jenkins and I always still chat it up, and Jelly Bean, from the time, Tori Ruffin, we're still like on Facebook or Instagram. We're always like, we stay in contact with each other for sure. Larry, I haven't talked to Larry since we did a Funk Fest with him back in 2016. But, I pray for Larry. I hope he's doing okay. I know he's had some health issues. Uh, Charlie Singleton. Yeah, it's really cool that those guys give me props because they don't realize like I'm still a fan. We're buddies, but I'm still a fan of those guys. Like all of them. Norwood from Fishbone. I mean, all those guys. I I still kind of geek out a little bit, when they comment or I run into them. But yeah, I have good relationships with those guys.
If you went out on a tour where you went out of, into other states, um, what kind of group, what kind of bill do you think Slapback would get on? Would it be, do you think, a little more rocky, or maybe with some of the funk bands that are still out there doing it, or?
Well, I tell you right now, what's in the works right now is uh, Lester Troutman's working on putting us on some funk shows for sure with like I don't know, either like P Funk or Zap or whatever. He works with so many artists. His roster is pretty crazy right now, and so it's been kind of cool that connection with them. And at the same time, Randy's going the route of like we're supposed to do South by Southwest this coming year, and we'll just see what it takes. We just if we're doing stuff on the rock side, we kind of lean more on our rock side. We're doing our funk show, we're gonna lean obviously on our more on our funk side. But I think with the new record coming out, being Funk Lives Matter, I really think it's important for us to be in the camp with the funk cats. You know what I mean? That's where this project belongs. Like I wanted to do shows with like Zap or SOS band or Daz band or any of that stuff. Like that's the lane that we're in with this record, I think.
Yeah, or Lakeside, or some of these ones that are still,
Yeah,
performing. Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Although I still
Yeah,
think I still think you make a great, pairing with like a Chili Peppers or Fishbone, that kind of thing too.
that honestly is more our lane. That's normally more our lane. Is that classic? Even like Paramore, we would be Paramore. It's kind of like same approach as Slap, funky, but they're rock, really rock. They can get pretty funky. Like that's kind of us, you know. But yeah, I do see us with more of those type of bands because like the festivals that we do, where it's that type of audience, they go berserk, and Slapback kind of puts on that kind of show too. It's kind of rowdy.
Yeah. Well, it's as long as you're feeling up to it. I mean, you can't contain yourself. Your style is to be, very active up there.
Right, right,
You know.
right. Yeah, we can't contain ourselves. It is what it is. It is what it is.
What What is your opinion? I got to ask you, since you're in it so deep, of Kool and the Gang. We just saw them get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was
Okay,
so overdue. And I was just
so overdue.
wondering, if you pay attention to that, if you care about some of the great funk bands being overlooked, like the Ohio Players and War and Commodores and so forth.
Yes. Honestly, I was telling Randy, I go, there was thought put behind this title, Funk Lives Matter. And it's almost because I wanted to spark a conversation about funk in general, not just the record, not just Slapback. I kind of want to, I kind of want to draw attention to the funk Lives Matter, like War, Ohio Players, what? Like the fact all those guys should be, they've paved the way so much, man. Like I'm so glad to hear about Cool and the Gang. I was stoked to hear about Tribe Called Quest. I'm like, you know, I hate that these artists kind of like get looked over when they play like a pivotal role in like music going where it went. So yeah, I like to see more of that. I'm hoping. I was even talking to Lester about it. I go, I'd like to even get like a Funk Lives Matter festival kind of happening, and that's so. I got the name trademarked and all that stuff because I have other plans for it than just like the title of the record. So I'm definitely going to be one of those people behind anything that has to do with giving props to the forefathers for sure.
Just as we were talking, I mean, I could also see you going out with people like Lettuce or Galactic or, some of these Skinny Puppy. Some of these groups that are a little newer, but they're still
Tuxedo,
funky.
yeah, yeah. I like Tuxedo too.
Tuxedo, yeah.
Yeah. You see Lettuce? I never heard of them. I've
Oh
heard of
man, you never heard of Lettuce?
no.
All right, I'm gonna send you some links.
Hook me up, man.
They're seriously funky.
Like, yeah, man. I live in a bubble down here in Orange County, man. You gotta send me some stuff.
They're a horn band though, but they're funky.
I love horns. I've even been thinking about doing a couple shows and adding horns, just like to advertise the Slapbak with horns. Just, it might be cool. Switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, as long as you do it right, you don't make it too, Vegas-y kind of thing. You keep it raw.
Man,
Keep it raw.
You just said it, and I remember the first time I saw Gap Band with horns. I was so heartbroken because they were doing Drop the Bomb and the horns were going da, 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 and I was just like, no. Like you're right, it's got to be done right. So it still sounds raw. It doesn't sound like a Vegas version. So believe me, if I use horns, it's gonna be in the way where it's like funky and not taking over the sound of like making it sound like Vegas. That's like my biggest pet peeve. It's gotta be like rah rah rah, and that's it. Like get out the way. I don't want it to be like horn central.
Yeah, even Prince when he had horns on 1999 live, it didn't work very well.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. And people have always said, "Man, you guys would be great if you had horns." I'm like, it's not that kind of band though. It's like the time. The time don't need horns.
No, or later Cameo.
Right. Yeah, dude. I mean, when I still think of Cameo, I still think of did they have horns and I don't know if they were real horns, but like in Word Up, there was still ba ba da ba ba. They were still sticking some
It had the
horns
horn
in.
sound, but yeah,
Tugging at the side of your neck. Horns were funky.
yeah.
That I'm down with that. Earth, Wind, and Fire, I'm down with that too. But again, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Power, that wasn't my cup of tea for funk. But again, Earth, Wind, and Fire just have some songs where you get kind of down in the earlier stuff. I heard I'm like, damn, that's Earth, Wind, and Fire.
You don't need horns for funk. They can work well, but you think of Isley Brothers, no horns. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We don't need horns in Icy Brothers. We're cool.
Well, I love the theme, Funk Lives Matter, of course. They
Thank you.
sure as hell do, and so do the artists that play it and support it, like you.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate what you do, man. I've been watching all your interviews over the years. So I'm like, oh, wow, he's got. I saw one with Don Silva. Did I see one with Don Silva?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm like, you get some really good artists on there, man. So props to you for keeping the stories out and keeping the, I think the story is so important when it comes to funk. So props to you, man, for making that happen.
Thank you,
That's
man.
why when you hit me up, I'm like, of course. anytime you want to talk, I'm in. We finally got the right things happening. Slapbak never had an agent all these years.
Hmm.
So I'd only do what I could in the areas where I was at, but I wasn't the guy on the phone. Hey, can you? I just was never that guy to work it like that. Shame on me, by the way, but
Well, is there any like website or information you want to plug so people know how to follow you guys?
Slapbak.com would be a good place to go once the record comes out. But right now it's just for the local stuff. But when we do start putting stuff on the calendar for that, you'll be able to find it there. Slapbak Instagram, Slapbak TikTok, Slapbak Facebook, all that stuff.
Are you going to put out physical copies?
Yes, we're doing this. This Funk Lives Matter is an album. It's going to be vinyl. I'll send you a copy.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Man, fantastic.
Do you play vinyl?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, then. You got a copy?
I still have a lot of originals from, back in the 70s.
Oh, I bet you do.
Yeah.
I bet you do.
The experience of playing a record that way and looking at the liner notes and experiencing it, it's special.
It's so crazy. I remember being so bummed as a teenager when they started switching the CDs. I was just like, wait, what? I used to love looking at that, especially double albums. I used to have a Earth, Wind & Fire double. My sister did. Julie, she had an Earth, Wind & Fire double album. And I remember there's pictures of Verdine like in the air with the bass. Because we didn't have videos back then, but I'd just look at the pictures and be like, wow.
That was probably gratitude, probably.
I think so.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, for sure, man. I'll definitely get you a copy.
I can't wait.
Again, I appreciate all the love you always give me and the band, man. It's much, much appreciated.
Hey, you take really good care of yourself. That's first and foremost. And then just keep bringing us the funk, as I know you will.
Yeah, my man.
All right, Jara.
Thank you, man.
Take care. God bless.
You take care, bro.